My daughter-in-law placed the papers in front of me with a sweet smile, the kind that melts every mother's suspicion. "It's just paperwork, Mama," she said gently, guiding my pen toward the line. And like a fool, like a trusting mother who thought her son married a good woman, I signed without reading a single word. A week later, I found out I hadn't signed routine paperwork. I had signed away my home. I should have sensed something was wrong the moment she called me Mama with that honey-soft voice she only used when she wanted something. Aisha, my daughter-in-law, had never been warm with me. Respectful, yes. Polite, yes. But warm, no. She kept her distance, always carefully curating her expressions like she was performing for someone. My son adored her endlessly, which made her sweetness feel rehearsed rather than heartfelt. When she came over that morning with a stack of documents tucked in a folder, she moved around my kitchen like she belonged there, brewing tea, setting biscuits on a plate, even wiping the counter as if she were already the lady of the house. "Mama, these are just routine papers," she said softly. "We're helping consolidate the family assets for easier management. It'll help with any medical or legal issues that might come up later. Just sign here and here." She pointed at spaces with a manicured nail painted the color of dried blood. I hesitated for a moment, but she leaned down and squeezed my hand. "You trust me, don't you?" she whispered. I did. Or maybe I simply trusted that my son would never align himself with someone who had ill intentions. I didn't understand the legal jargon. My eyes blurred with the tiny text. She turned the pages quickly, tapping each signature line with a practiced rhythm. "It's all standard, nothing complicated." I signed. Foolishly, blindly, lovingly, I signed everything she placed before me. The first crack in the facade appeared 4 days later. I woke early, as I always did, and stepped into my garden. My garden, my pride, planted by my late husband and me the year we moved into this house. But that morning, I found two strangers measuring the boundary wall. One of them pointed at the mango tree and said, "We'll have to cut that down for the extension." My heart dropped. "Excuse me," I said, stepping forward. "What extension? Who told you to come here?" The man flipped through his papers and read aloud. "The new owner. She said to begin the survey immediately." I froze. New owner? I laughed it off as a misunderstanding, but something thick and heavy lodged itself in my chest. After they left, I called my son, but he didn't answer. I called Aisha. She ignored me. Hours later, while searching for something to distract myself, I opened the mail and saw an unfamiliar envelope addressed to me. Inside was a formal confirmation from the Land Registry Office. "The property at 14 Jasmine Road has been legally transferred to Mrs. Aisha Khan as the sole owner." My breath seized, my hands trembled, my heart hammered against my ribs. I read it again, and again, and again. It didn't change. I was no longer the owner of my own house. Not the home I had built brick by brick with my husband. Not the place where I raised my son. Not the place where I had lived for 32 years. My daughter-in-law, smiling, sweet-voiced Aisha, had taken it, and I had signed it away with my own hand. I confronted my son first, hoping, praying that this was some sort of clerical error. When he finally returned my call and came over, he wore an uncomfortable expression, one that told me he already knew. "Ummi," he said softly, "you don't need to worry. It's all for your own good." My own good? I felt something sour rise in my throat. "You let your wife trick me into signing my house over to her?" I demanded. He looked down. "You're getting older," he murmured. "We just wanted to secure things. Aisha can handle the legal matters better than you." His words stabbed me deeper than the paperwork did. My own flesh and blood had betrayed me. My own son.
The boy whose diapers I changed, the child I raised alone after losing his father, the grown man who now stood in front of me and explained away my erased ownership as if it were some minor reorganization. When I told him to reverse it immediately, he sighed and said, "We can't. Everything is already registered. The lawyers said it's final. But don't worry, you can stay here as long as you like." Stay here? As long as I like? This was my home, my sanctuary, my life's work, and now he was speaking to me like a tenant, not a mother. The next day, the true horror began. Aisha arrived with a clipboard, walking through the rooms as if conducting an inspection. "We'll renovate this part," she murmured, "and this wall will go, and this room, well, we'll need it for the baby." Baby? I didn't even know she was pregnant. She didn't look up when she said casually, "You'll be more comfortable in this small guest room at the back. It'll be easier for you." Easier for me? She had planned this. Every word, every kindness, every cup of tea, calculated. I stood there shaking, feeling the world tilt under my feet. She turned to me, smiled sweetly, and said, "Mama, don't make this difficult." That was the moment my fear turned into resolve. I didn't sleep that night. I searched every cabinet, every drawer, every pile of paperwork until I found the folder she had used that day. Inside were copies of everything I'd signed, and every sheet of paper confirmed the truth. I had unknowingly gifted her my home. The next morning, I visited an old friend, an attorney I hadn't seen in years. When he looked at the papers, his face hardened. He said, "This is fraud, deception, manipulation." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Can it be reversed?" He nodded slowly. "If we can prove she misled you and that you signed without informed consent, the court can invalidate the transfer." My knees nearly gave out from relief. "But," he added, "it won't be easy. She's clever. She knew what she was doing, and your son, he'll side with her." I closed my eyes. I knew that already. The legal battle took weeks. Aisha fought viciously, filing motions, manipulating my son, even trying to paint me as forgetful and incapable. But I documented everything. The contractors, the registry documents arriving without explanation, the fact that she concealed the purpose of the paperwork. The attorney built the case thread by thread, and slowly the facade she had built began to crumble. My son came to see me once during the process. He sat across from me, eyes red, guilt eating at him. "Ami, why are you doing this?" he whispered. I looked at the son I loved more than life itself, and answered softly, "Because you both took my home." He cried. For a moment I thought he'd switch sides. The final hearing was the longest hour of my life. Aisha sat across from me in the courtroom, her face carefully blank, but her eyes glinting with cold confidence. She truly believed she would win, believed the judge would look at me as a confused, aging mother who didn't understand legal documents. But when my attorney presented the evidence, video footage of the contractors, text messages between her and the surveyors, the rushed signatures, the absence of legal explanation, her mask finally cracked. Her fingers trembled. Her lips tightened. My attorney ended with a simple statement. "This is not a transfer of assets. This is a theft disguised as paperwork." The judge looked at me, then at her, then at the documents, and finally, with measured clarity, he said the words that stitched my shattered dignity back together. "The property transfer is null and void. The home legally returns to Mrs. Khan." Aisha's face drained of color. My son closed his eyes, shame washing over him. I did not smile. Winning did not feel like victory. It felt like survival. After the ruling, I walked out of the courtroom with my head high. My son ran after me, voice breaking. "Ummi, please, don't shut us out." I stopped, but didn't turn. "You shut me out," I said softly. You both did." His silence was my answer. I returned to my home, and for the first time in weeks, it felt like mine again. The contractors never came back, the mango tree remained standing, the house was quiet, peaceful, safe. But something inside me had shifted forever. Trust, once broken, can never be rebuilt in its original form. Weeks later, I received a letter from Aisha, a long one. Apologies, justifications, explanations. She claimed she did it out of fear that my son and I would ignore her baby once it arrived, fear that she wouldn't have security if something happened to my son, fear that she would never belong. She begged for forgiveness. I folded the letter without finishing it. I am not heartless. I know motherhood can make a woman desperate, but desperation does not justify deceit. I called my son once, only once, to tell him something simple. You and your wife are welcome to visit, but you will never handle my paperwork again. He cried again. I didn't. I had shed all my tears the night I realized my family could betray me for comfort. Now I live differently, carefully, wisely, with boundaries carved in steel. And every morning when I walk through my garden and see the sunlight fall on the mango tree, I remind myself, sometimes the greatest battles are fought not with strangers, but with the people we love. And sometimes, winning isn't about getting revenge. It's about taking back what is yours and refusing to be erased.